Source of light, truth, and of the impulse within us towards justice and mercy. May this hour of worship be one of vision and inspiration. Help us to find knowledge by which to live. Let the words we speak enter our hearts and influence our lives. Bless all who enter this sanctuary in search of you, or in need of comfort and consolation. May the offering of their hearts be acceptable to you, and may the prayers we utter here bear fruit in acts of kindness, peace, and love. We praise you, eternal God, sovereign of the universe. You sanctify us with your commandments, and join us to study your teachings. With what shall I approach the Eternal One?
How shall I worship the God of heaven?
Shall I come before God with burnt offerings?
Or with yearling calves?
Will God be pleased with thousands of rams?
Or with 10,000 rivers of oil?
Should I give my firstborn for my transgressions?
The fruit of my body for the sins of my soul?
People tell you what is good, but what does the Eternal One require of you?
Only to do justly, and love mercy, and walk humbly with your God.
These are actions which bring benefit here and now, and whose full value can be measured only in the light of eternity. Honouring one's father and mother. Acts of love and kindness. Diligent pursuit of knowledge and wisdom. Hospitality to strangers. Visiting the sick. Enabling bride and groom to rejoice. Consoling the bereaved. Praying with sincerity. And making peace where there is strife. And the study of Torah leads to them all. Eternal God, may the words of Torah taste sweet to us and to all Israel, that we and our children and all the children of your people may come to know you by studying Torah. We praise you, O God, teacher of your people Israel.
Baruch Shema v'hayam olam Baruch Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam Hamulad b'fiyamo V'shuvah b'fora b'shor chasitav ha'avadai Yishmachot v'tmirot Galecha v'namlichecha Malkinu yachid chei ha'olamim Baruch atah Adonai melech muhulal v'tishpachot.
Sing for joy to the Eternal One, you who are righteous.
For the upright do well to give praise.
Give thanks to the Eternal One with the lyre.
making music to God with the 10-stringed harp.
Sing to God a new song.
Play well with shouts of joy.
For God's word holds good.
God's every deed is done in faithfulness.
The Eternal One loves righteousness and justice.
The earth is full of God's kindness.
By the Eternal One's word the heavens were made.
And all their hosts by the breath of God's mouth.
At the divine command the ocean waves rise.
Or gather instead in the vaults of the deep.
Let all the earth revere the Eternal One.
Let all who dwell there stand in awe of God.
Who spoke, and it was.
Who commanded, and it stood firm.
How shall I sing of day and night, when it is God who formed them? How shall I sing of heaven and earth, when it is God who founded them? How shall I sing of mountains and hills, when it is God who planted them? How shall I sing of deserts and seas, when it is God who begot them? How shall I sing of earth and her fullness, when it is God who bade them be? I shall sing of the one who fashioned them all, the one who is above them all. Of God, God alone, I shall sing.
Hallelujah, 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 Bekira Uzor, hallelujah, before a time, hallelujah, Karol, good Lord, hallelujah, 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 betek hashofar, hallelujah, benevel v'chinor, hallelujah, bezot u'machor, hallelujah, b'minim ve'ogav, hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. Hallelujah, 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 silsile shama, hallelujah, silsile truah, kol hashama, tehalelia, hallelujah, 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 hallelujah.
Please rise for each other.
ישתבח שמך לעד מלכנו, האל המלך הגדול והקדוש, בשמיים ובארץ, כי לך נאה אדוני אלוהינו, ואלוהי אבותינו, שיהיה ושבחה, הלל וזמרה, ברכות והודאות, מעתה ועד עולם. ברוך אתה אדוני, הבוטה בשירי זמרה. ברכו את אדוני, המבורך. ברוך אדוני המבורך לעולם.
Please be seated. And let's read together, firstly in Hebrew and then halfway down the page, changing to English. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, yotzei or u'borei choshech, osei shalom u'borei et המאיר לארץ ולדרים עליך ברחמים, ובטובו מחדש בכל יום תמיד מעשה בראשית. מה רבו מעשיך, אדוני, כולם בחוכמה עשית, מלאה הארץ קנייניך. יתברך אדוני אלוהינו, על שבח מעשה ידיך, ועל מאורעו שעשית, יפארוך הסלע. ברוך אתה אדוני, יוצא המאורות. Great is your love for us, eternal God, and abundant your compassion. Our ancestors trusted in you, and you taught them the laws of life. So be gracious to us and teach us. Incline our hearts to hear your words, to know and understand, to learn and teach, and with love to uphold the truths of your Torah. Enlighten us with your teaching. Make us faithful to your commandments, and wholehearted in the love and awe of your name. For in love you summon us to serve you and proclaim your unity. We praise you, O God. In love you have called your people Israel to serve you. And let's rise as a community for the Shema. Please be seated. Good and beautiful and true, sound, established and enduring are these words, now and forever. True it is, Eternal One, that you are our sovereign God and Redeemer, as you are the God and Redeemer of our ancestors. You are our Maker, the rock of our salvation. We have known your ways as our helper and our liberator. There is no God but you. Truly you are first and you are last. We have no Redeemer but you. You redeemed us from Egypt and freed us from the house of bondage. Then with great joy Moses, Miriam and all Israel together sang to you this song.
Adonai
Please rise. Adonai sefatai tiftar, v'fi yagid le'ilatecha. Eternal God, open my lips, that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai,
Eloheinu ve'Elohei Avotenu ve'imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzhak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el HaGadol, HaGibor והנורא, אל עליון, גומר חסדים טובים, וקונה הכל, וזוכר חסדי אבות ואמהות, ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם, למען שמו יהבה, מלך חוזר ומשיח ומגן, ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם, ועזרת שרה.
אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיים את ימתה, רב להושיע, משיב הרוח ומוריד הגשם, מזריח השמש ומוריד הטל, מכלכל חיים בחסד, מחייב עתים ברחמים רבים, צומח נופלים ורופא חולים, ובתיה אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו בשני עפר. מי כמוך בעל גבורות, ומדם מלך, מלך ממית ומחיה, ומשמיע ישועה, ונאמנתה להחיות מתים. ברוך אתה אדוני, מחיה.
לקדש את שמך בעולם כשם שמקדישים אותו בשמי מרום, ככתוב על יד נביאך.
קדוש, 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 אדוני צבאות, ולא כל הארץ כבודו.
כבודו מלא עולם.
ברוך כבוד אדוני במקומו.
במקומך מלכנו תופיע ותמלוך עלינו כי מחכים אנחנו לך.
ימלוך אדוני עולם, אלוהי ציון, לטובתו, הללויה. לטובתו, 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 נגיד גדלך. לטובתו, 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 נגיד גדלך. ולנצח נצחים קדושתך נקדיש, קדושתך נקדיש, ושבחך אלוהינו מפינו לא ימוש, לא ימוש לעולם ועד. לטובתו, 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 נגיד גדלך. נגיד גדלך. ברוך אתה אדוני, האל הקדוש. ברוך אתה אדוני, האל הקדוש.
Please be seated. You inspired our ancestors to hallow this day for your service. When upon its coming we pause to contemplate our life, we learn anew that we do not live by bread alone, but also by the spiritual nourishment we receive when we open ourselves to your influence. We thank you for the Sabbath day and for the opportunity it offers to enhance the quality of our lives. We thank you for its joy and for its peace. May our worship help us to take into our hearts its message of holiness and consecrate all our days by devotion to what is true, beautiful and good.
ישמחו במלכותך שומרי שבת הקוראי עונג וקוראי עונג המקדשי שבי כולני ואיתנו מטובך והשבי עשית בו וקידשתו עמדת ימים אתה קראת ישמחו במלכותך שומרי שבת וקוראי עונג וקוראי עונג תחל מעשה בראשית.
Let's continue together in English. Our God and God of our ancestors, may our rest on this day be pleasing in your sight. Sanctify us by your commandments, and make us loyal to your teaching. Satisfy us with your goodness, gladden us with your salvation, and purify our hearts to serve you in truth. In your gracious love, eternal one, let the holiness of your Sabbath enter our hearts, and may all Israel who hallow your name be exalted by its feasts. We praise you, O God, for the holiness of the Sabbath. Eternal God, be gracious to your people Israel, and in your love accept their prayers. May our worship now and always be acceptable in your sight.
We praise you, O God, whom alone we worship in reverence.
Modim anachnu lach, sha'ata hu Adonai Eloheinu ve'Elokei Avoteinu le'olam va'ed. Zur chayenu magen yishenu, ata hu ledor vador. נודה לך ונספר תהילתך, על חיינו המסורים בידיך, ועל נשמותינו הפקודות לך, ועל ניסיך שבכל יום עמנו, ועל נפלותיך וטובותיך, שבכל עת ערב ובוקר וצהריים. ברוך אתה אדוני, הטוב שמך ולך נאה ולטוב.
Sim, shalom. Sim shalom tova uvracha. Sim shalom tova uvracha. Chen v'chesed v'rachamim aleinu v'kol Yisrael lamecha. Sim shalom. Shalom tova uvracha. Sim shalom tova uvracha. Achreinu avinu kulanu be'echad va'or panecha. Imaor panecha netata lanu Adonai Eloheinu. Sim shalom. Sim shalom tova uvracha. Sim shalom tova uvracha. Tolat chayim ve'achavat chesed ustaka uvracha. Rachamim v'chayim v'shalom. Sim shalom. Sim shalom tova uvracha. Sim shalom tova uvracha. V'tov b'necha v'varech et amcha Yisrael v'et kol ha'amim v'chol
Before we begin a moment of silence, I'm going to offer a different text, which is in a book on Buddhism given to me by a man called Yarek, who works in the office at Leo Beck College. He's one of the nicest people at the college. He's a Buddhist. This is an ancient Chinese proverb, and I'm looking and wishing Lobo were here. Grant yourself a moment of peace, and you will understand how foolishly you have scurried about. Learn to be silent, and you will notice that you have talked too much. Be kind, and you will realize that your judgment of others was too severe. Let's turn to page 607 for a prayer on behalf of those who are sick. And as I look around the room, I know that Linda is struggling, having had an operation to her leg about 10 days ago, and not easy for her. Are there any other names that people would like to mention?
My husband is very ill. He's in the hospice at the moment, and it's grateful.
Our son, Mike, was fighting cancer.
My mum and dad. And Colin Oaken, a friend of mine, who's very, very sick after a stroke.
And a friend of mine who has pancreatic cancer.
A friend of mine, Harry. Let's say in English, to begin with, may it be your will, and then we'll say the Khatimah, the seal of the blessing in Hebrew, and then in English. May it be your will, Eternal One, our God, and God of our ancestors, speedily to grant a perfect healing of body and mind to all who are sick. Baruch atah Adonai, Rofei HaCholim. We praise you, O God, the source of healing. I thought we'd have the special theme today. The power. Shall we have it? Shall we not? Yes, we'll have it. So we're going to have loyalty. And I'd like to invite another of the nicest people that I know at the Obeck College. That's my friend Anna Posner, to come up into the Bima. I'm not sure whether she's going to come up alone or accompanied.
He won't let me come up without me.
All right, come to him.
But it's topical loyalty and a dog that's not yet learned that I'm loyal.
And loyalty can be found on page
253. And we'll start together. Fire shall be kept burning on the altar continually. It shall not go out. Long ago, a fire was kindled in the hearts of our ancestors, a fire of loyalty to God and God's teaching of righteousness. Sometimes its flame has flickered, and in the case of individuals and families, gone out. But always, our people collectively have kept it alight, and handed it on, like a sacred torch from generation to generation. For God established a testimony in Jacob and laid down a teaching in Israel, commanding our ancestors to make them known to their children, so that the next generation, the children yet unborn, might know them, and in turn instruct their children to put their trust in God, remember God's deeds, and keep God's commandments. Not only born Jews, but those who joined us have shared in the privilege and burden of loyalty and the task of transmission. Do not press me to leave you, or turn back from following you. Where you go, I will go. Where you dwell, I will dwell. Your people shall be my people, and your God my God. Wandering Arameans were my ancestors, and they went down to Egypt and lived there as strangers, few in number, but there they became a great nation.
This shows that even in Egypt they retained their distinctiveness.
In the strength of 4 virtues were the Israelites redeemed from Egypt. They did not change their names, they did not change their language, they did not speak evil, and they did not give up their moral standards.
Just as all rivers are sweet and beneficial while following their course on land, but when they enter the ocean they become bitter and useless. So Israel are blessed and useful to the world, only as long as they maintain their loyalty to their Creator.
Love God, all who are godly, for God preserves the faithful. This verse refers first to born Israelites who are righteous, and secondly to righteous proselytes.
It also refers to those who say in their prayers, "We praise the Redeemer of Israel, that they are not yet redeemed, and we praise the rebuilder of Jerusalem, though it is not yet rebuilt."
It was not an Ibn Gabirol or a Maimonides, still less a Spinoza, who fulfilled the Jewish mission most truly, or rendered the greatest service to the Jewish cause. No, it was the many little obscure Jewish communities through the ages, persecuted and despised, who kept alive the flame of the purest monotheism and the supremacy and the divineness of moral law. And we'll just take a few minutes to read the 2 texts that finish this page. I am a Jew, which was born of Israel, and having lost her, I have felt her live again in me, more living than myself.
I am a Jew because born of Israel, and having regained her, I wish her to live after me, more living than myself.
Judaism, my child, is the struggle to bring down God upon the earth, a struggle for the sanctification of the human heart. This struggle your people wages not with physical force, but with spirit, with sincere, heartfelt prayers, and by constant striving for truth and justice. So do you understand, my child, how we are distinct from others, and wherein lies the secret of our existence on earth? Knowing this, will your heart still be heavy? Will you still say you cannot enjoy your fate? But you must, my child, for so you were commanded. It is your calling. This is your mission, your purpose on earth.
God, the God of our ancestors, help us to remain faithful to our heritage and history, and to be worthy of the name of Jew. Teach us to recognize that through the loyalty we show to our faith, our community and our people, we help to bring closer to the fulfillment of Israel's vision, one humanity on earth as there is one God in heaven.
Ashrenu,
think that's one of the best special themes in the book, personally. I don't know what you think. Let's turn to page 481 for the Torah service. 481. There is none like you, Eternal One, among the gods people worship, and there are no deeds like yours. Your sovereignty is everlasting, your reign endures from age to age. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Hear, O Israel, the Eternal One is our God, the Eternal God is one.
Echad Eloheinu, Adon Adonenu, Adon Shem.
Gadol Adonai Yitir, U'ne'ra b'ma Shema Yachdav.
Adonai HaGedula, HaGevura, HaZitet, HaNetzavachon, HaNetzavachon. Yisrael Hashamayim u'ba'aretz, Adonai HaMamlecha HaMitnaseh.
I have to say, your scroll is massive compared with the one we're using. It's very big and it's very heavy.
We've got different ones. There's some there. That's nice, right?
This is massive. This tends to be the one I read from. I have to peer over it. I start down there and I'm really pleased I'm not having to lift it today. And Stephen, if he's feeling up to it, to show the 3 columns will be worth seeing. Well, you might only get 2, you might only get 1. Let's see what happens. Because one column, the column that I start with, is wider than I've ever seen. I've never seen a column that wide. But on the left, there are 2 columns which are narrower than I've ever seen. I'm not sure why. I've taken a photo. I'm going to ask someone who might know. I don't know if anyone here knows. There doesn't seem to be any obvious reason for it. I'd want to look at another scroll to see whether they do that in this parashah at this point. Maybe they do. I don't think so. It could be, though, as Linda suggested, the fact that the sheet comes to an end and the scribe has made a decision about, but it's a strange decision because it really is quite noticeable. So have a look at least one column. You'll see a very wide column, perhaps 2 narrow ones after the reading when Hag Bahar happens. We're reading from Parashat Zav, and I'll be talking more about that in the sermon. It is Leviticus chapter 8, verses 1 to 13. Leviticus chapter 8, verses 1 to 13, and I can't help you beyond that.
Not the Tanakh.
641.
641 in the Contina, yeah. And in the JPS we have it's chapter 8 of Leviticus.
163.
163. cornerstone of the community, Stephen Tarney to the Torah. Ya'amod Shalom Mendel Ben Tzvi L'Kriyat HaTorah.
Baruch hu et Adonai Hamavorach.
Baruch Adonai HaMevorach Le'olam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hamavorach Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Ata Adonai Eloheinu Melech HaOlam, Asher Bacha Banu Mikol Ha'amin, V'natan Lanu et Torato. Baruch Ata Adonai Noten HaTorah.
Amen. I can't remember what the practice is here, but I hope you don't mind if I read the translation first. That is the practice. That's probably where I picked it up. I don't know if anyone's seen this. Set of 3. It was a present. I think it would have been quite expensive if I had to buy it for myself. It's the Robert Alter Hebrew Bible, so the latest translation on the blog, I think, and it's quite interesting. Interesting that he keeps with masculine gender for God. Thought he might do something with that, but he hasn't. I'm going to read from there, and I'm going to talk about. I'll mention 2 things right at the very beginning. One is, I'll do it as I go because it will get rather complicated. Do you want to sit for a minute, Steve? And I think the commentaries are more interesting than the actual translation, but it's different. So it's worth. And if you've got something else in front of you, you can compare it as I read. And the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, "Take Aaron and his sons with him, and the garments, and the anointing oil, and the offence offering bull, and the 2 rams, and the basket of flatbread, and assemble all the community at the entrance of the tent of meeting." So the medieval commentators want to know, how can you assemble all the community, you normally hear that they number in their thousands, at the entrance to the tent of community, to the tent of meeting rather, at the entrance to the tent of meeting. And Rashi says, it was a miracle. And Ibn Ezra says, no, it wasn't a miracle, it means the leaders of the community. You could fit them in. So that's the first thing I wanted to say. And Moses did as the Lord had charged him, and the community assembled at the entrance of the tent of meeting. And Moses said to the community, "This is the thing that the Lord charged to do." And Moses brought forward Aaron and his sons, and bathed them in water. And he placed the tunics on them, and girded them with the sash, and dressed them in the robe, and put the ephod over it, and girded it with the ornamental band of the ephod, and tied it to him with it. And he put the breastplate on him, and placed in the breastplate the Urim and the Tumim. The Urim and the Tumim. So I wanted to remind myself what on earth they were, and it's quite extraordinary really. So a little earlier, I mentioned in Exodus, and I'll read the whole section here. The Urim and the Tumim, according to Robert Alter. The precise character of this oracular device, it's an oracle, has eluded identification. One common conjecture is that they were 2 stones with different letters or words engraved on them. But unless someone actually digs up a pair, there's no way of proving this conjecture. Traditional interpretation associates the 2 words with roots that mean light and perfection, but if they are opposites, they could be linked etymologically with the terms suggesting curse and innocence. It is probably not coincidental that these 2 words begin with the first and the last letter of the Hebrew alphabet, Aleph and Tav. In any case, most of the references to the Urim and the Tumim in narrative passages invite the inference that the device generated a binary result, sprinkled from it on the altar 7 times, and anointed the altar and all its implements and the lava and its stand to consecrate them. And he poured from the anointing oil on Aaron's head and anointed him to consecrate him. And Moses brought forward the sons of Aaron and dressed them in tunics and girded them with sashes and bound headdresses on them, as the Lord had charged Moses. וידבר אדוני אל משה לאמור, קח את אהרון ואת בניו איתו, ואת הבגדים, ואת שמן המשחה, ואת פר החטאת, ואת שני האלים, ואת סל המצות, ואת כל העדה, הקהל אל פתח אוהל מועד. ויעש משה כאשר ציווה אדוני אותו. ותקהל העדה אל פתח אוהל מועד. ויאמר משה אל העדה, זה הדבר אשר ציווה אדוני לעשות. ויקרב משה את אהרון ואת בניו, וירחץ אותם במים, ויתן עליו את הכתונת, ויחגור אותו באבנט, וילבש אותו את המעיל, ויתן עליו את האפוד, ויחגור אותו בחשב האפוד, ויפוד לו בו, וישם עליו את החושן, ויתן אל החושן את האורים ואת התומים, וישם את המצנפת על ראשו, וישם על המצנפת אל מול פניו את ציץ הזהב, נזר הקודש, כאשר ציווה אדוני את משה. ויקח משה את שמן המשחה, וימשך את המשכן ואת כל אשר בו, ויקדש אותם, ויעז ממנו על המזבח 7 פעמים. וימשך Please rise.
Baruch Shenatan Torah Emo Yisrael Yikru Shato.
Yashikoah.
Yes.
I think Weetabix. על שלושה דברים, על שלושה דברים, על שלושה דברים, העולם עומד. על שלושה דברים, על שלושה דברים, על שלושה דברים, העולם עומד. על התורה ועל העבודה ועל גמילות חסדים. על התורה ועל העבודה ועל גמילות חסדים. על שלושה דברים, על שלושה דברים, על שלושה דברים, העולם עומד. Esther's going to read the Torah for us.
So once again, those wayward Israelites have fallen off their camels, so to speak. This time, they've been defiling the temple, they've been worshipping idols, and living the life of Riley. And in our Haftorah this morning, we find out the consequences of their behaviour. And I'll be reading from the book of Jeremiah, chapter 7, from verse 21 through to chapter 8, verse 3, and then we will jump to chapter 9, verses 22 and 23. And you can follow along in the Sancino on page 647, and then page 650, and in the JPSA we start on page 784 and then 790. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bacha b'nvi'im tovim, Orotza b'divrechem hanemorim ba'emet. Baruch atah Adonai, aboher b'torah, u'Moshe avdo, u'Yisrael amo, u'v'nevi'ei ha'amet v'tzedek. And I will be contemporary. But they did not obey or pay any attention. Instead, they did whatever their stubborn and evil hearts told them to do, and they became worse instead of better. From the day that your ancestors came out of Egypt until this very day, I have kept on sending my servants, the prophets, to you. Yet no one listened or paid any attention. Instead, you became more stubborn and rebellious than your ancestors. So, Jeremiah, you will speak all these words to my people, but they will not listen to you. You will call them, but they will not answer. You will tell them that their nation does not obey me, the Lord their God, or learn from their punishment. Faithfulness is dead. No longer is it even talked about. Mourn, people of Jerusalem, cut off your hair and throw it away. Sing a funeral song on the hilltops, because I, the Lord, am angry and have rejected my people. The people of Judah have done an evil thing. They have placed their idols, which I hate, in my temple, and have defiled it. In the valley of Hinnom, they have built an altar called Tophet, so that they can sacrifice their sons and daughters in the fire. I did not command them to do this. It did not even enter my mind. And so the time will come when it will no longer be called Tophet or the valley of Hinnom, but the altar. They will bury people there because there will be nowhere else to bury them. The corpses will be food for the birds and wild animals, and there will be no one to scare them off. The land will become a desert. In the cities of Judah and in the streets of Jerusalem, I will put an end to the sounds of joy and gladness and to the happy sounds of wedding feasts. At that time, the bones of the kings and of the officials of Judah, as well as the bones of the priests, of the prophets, and of the other people who lived in Jerusalem, will be taken out of their graves, and instead of being gathered and buried, their bones will be like manure lying on the ground. They will be spread out before the sun, the moon, and the stars, which these peoples have loved and served, and which they have consulted and worshipped. And the people of this evil nation who survive, who live in the places where I have scattered them, they will prefer to die rather than to go on living. I, the Lord Almighty, have spoken. And moving now to chapter 9. Dead bodies are scattered everywhere, like the piles of manure in the fields, like the corn cut and left behind by the reapers, corn that no one gathers. This is what the Lord has told me to say. The Lord says, the wise should not boast of their wisdom, nor the strong of their strength, nor the rich of their wealth.
Shall we have 3 readers from the community to read the communal prayers? So the Queen and the government, and the community here.
What? Which one?
That's the middle one, bottom of 484. And the State of Israel. Okay.
Eternal God, whose dominion embraces the universe, we ask your blessing for our sovereign Lady Queen Elizabeth and all the royal family, for those who govern our country and all who influence the quality of its national life. Make them conscious of their responsibility and teach them to exercise it in accordance with your will. May we all help to fashion in this country a society that excels in freedom and justice, tolerance and compassion. so that it may be a force for righteousness and peace in the life of humanity.
Let us say,
Eternal God, as you blessed our ancestors in generations past, bless now this congregation, its leaders and its members, and all who enter this synagogue to meet, to study, to pray. Comfort the sorrowing hearts among us and heal those in anxiety or pain. May we all find here community and friendship, renewal of purpose and hope, of a deeper understanding of our heritage and a sense of your abiding presence. Bless all congregations of the House of Israel throughout the world. Let those who live under oppressive rule soon be freed, and may we all unite to witness your truth and do your will.
let us say,
Amen. Eternal God, our rock and redeemer, grant blessing to the state of Israel, created to fulfill an age-old dream and to be a haven for the oppressed. Inspire its leaders and citizens with faithfulness to the aims of its founders, to develop the land for the benefit of all its inhabitants, and to implement the prophetic ideals of liberty and justice.
God's teaching is perfect. God's word is unfailing.
Making wise the simple,
God's precepts are right.
enlightening minds,
God's commandments are clear.
enlightening the eyes,
God's doctrine is pure.
enduring forever,
God's guidance is true.
and altogether just.
Behold, a good doctrine has been given you. Do not forsake it. It is a tree of life to those who hold it fast, and all who cling to it find happiness. Its ways are ways of pleasantness, and all its paths are peace. This is a sermonette. Looking at the time, it's a good job it's a sermonette. Because putting the special theme in and maybe other things we've done, me rabbiting on a bit, it's meant that we're in the zone where people downstairs start to tut. Let them tut a little bit. I think it would be fair to say that liberal Jews do not like to be commanded. This week's parashah begins after the familiar formulation, the Eternal One said unto Moses, saying, with the word tzav, command. Here on God's behalf, Moses is to command his brother Aaron and Aaron's sons to do with sacrifices. According to Rashi, this imperative is used, it applies to the present and the future. In other words, we were commanded and remain so. As a movement, we reject any notion that ritual law is binding. Indeed, If we stray outside of the carefully selected passages in the LJ lectionary, we may want to distance ourselves from what is described as happening in the past too. This week, for example, I read chapter 8, verses 1 to 13. Read on to see why we stop at that point. It is bloody and bizarre. Orthodox Jews feel commanded to read the ganze Megillah. We do not. Sitting in the room of prayer this Tuesday morning at the Leo Beck College, I was not the only one to be struck by the diversity of people and practice in the room. Some of it was within traditional bounds. The design of prayer shawls varied, kippot. Some people laid tefillin different ways, I suppose. Of the score of people there, including applicants to the college this week, not all wore religious apparel at all, nor moved in anything like the traditionally prescribed manner. What was once done has been undone and redone. Generally, we hold this to be a good thing, and in a conversation after the service, a colleague and I agreed on how truly amazing it was to be in a room with people praying together, certainly together, yet so differently. There is a lesson here for our communities, and for me as a new rabbi. Effectively, rabbis are, along with rights and practices committees, in the command position when it comes to services. Who can be called up onto the bimah, what they can do there, how they should be attired, when to sit and stand. Arguably, there has to be a set of rules so that we form a coherent community. Here's a quote: "The freedom of the individual must not be carried to extremes." As Reverend Vivian Simmons rightly says in The Path of Life, a study of the background, faith and practice of liberal Judaism from 1961. Nevertheless, perhaps we could loosen the rules a little and let go of some of them altogether. How much do we want to command in this area? Are we motivated by coherence or control? In matters of practice, what might a more liberal approach bring to our services and to our synagogues?
This is a late Purim song. It's a tragic, well, not so tragic tale of Yaakov Osher's attempt to make Hamantaschen. I'll explain as we go on. The chorus, you might pick up, it goes, Hop meine Hamantaschen, hop meine Weißer. Hop is a nonsense word, means my white ones. Hop meine Hamantaschen, hop pasit a Meister, which means suitable for the story, or just sing la 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 if you pick it up. Jachne Drosche vor den Schnitt, hat sich in den Haken. Sie darf euch Purim kaufen, Mel, Hamantaschen backen. Hopp meine Hamantaschen, hopp meine Weißer. Hopp meine Hamantaschen, hopp was hinter Meister. Hopp meine Hamantaschen, hopp meine Weißer. Hopp meine Hamantaschen, hopp was hinter Meister. It starts raining, it starts snowing, there's water flowing from the roof. Aber Jachna's carrying her bag with all her ingredients. Na mag schon Hamantaschen, mag sich schon in Eiven. Hopp meine Hamantaschen, hopp meine Weißer. Hopp meine Hamantaschen, hopp was hinter Meister. Hopp meine Hamantaschen, hopp meine Weißer. Hopp meine Hamantaschen, hopp was hinter Meister. So good, she's on her way, she's carrying her Shalach Mones, her Hamantaschen, to her auntie Yenta. 2 or 3 Hamantaschen, half raw and half burned. Jachne trug schon Shalach Mones zu die Jenta. 2, 3 schwarze Hamantaschen, halb reu, halb verbrennte. Hopp meine Hamantaschen, hopp meine Weiße. Hopp meine Hamantaschen, hopp was ist ein Meister. Hopp meine Hamantaschen, hopp meine Weiße. Hopp meine Hamantaschen, hopp was ist ein Meister. La 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 la
let's turn to page 519 and read a text which is a perfectly acceptable alternative to Elena, 519, and a little shorter. Baruch Adonai le'olam. Baruch Adonai Elohim Elohei Yisrael Oseh niflaot levado ubaruch Shem kevodo le'olam v'yimaleh kevodo et kol ha'aretz. The eternal God shall rule over all the earth. On that day the eternal God shall be one and known to be one. May your love, O God, rest upon us as we rest our hope in you. All the nations that you have made shall come and bow down before you and honour your name. Let God be praised by day, let God be praised by night. Let God be praised when we lie down, let God be praised when we rise up. Avinu shebashamayim yached shimcha v'kayem malchutecha tamid. Mloch aleinu le'olam va'ed. Adonai melech, Adonai malach, Adonai yimlach le'olam va'ed. Life is finite. Like a candle, it burns, it glows, it is radiant with warmth and beauty. Then it fades, its substance is consumed, and it is no more. And as a community at Mosaic Little Synagogue, we remember in particular at this time of year Helga Arensfeld, the mother of Esther Arensfeld. Stephanie Berger, the mother of Gabby Rosenthal. Lino Capitelli, the husband of Marie Capitelli. Henry Coburn, the husband of Senga Coburn. Val Lippman, a friend of the community. Henry Saunders, the father of Victor Saunders. Paul Zentner, the husband of Doreen Zentner. We also mark the death of Irving Harris, who died at the ripe old age of 95. His funeral is on Wednesday this week.
It was last week.
Oh, sorry. He was a member of the 326 group. And we also wish much strength to Vic, who's still in the Shloshim for his wife Susan. And we also wish much strength to Stephen at the death of his sister Mandy Barash. Mandy, the daughter of Harold and Phyllis Sanderson, wife of Russell, mother of Benji and Gemma, the sister of Stephen and Wendy, who died tragically early. Her funeral will be tomorrow at Bushy New Cemetery at 1:45 p.m. And I'm also remembering my father, whose birthday would have been today. He would have been 89, but he didn't get past 64, sadly. If there are any other names, please feel free to mention them as I look around the room. In the emptiness their passing leaves behind, we are not alone, for we have the companionship of the living, and even our loved ones who have died live on in our hearts, for what they were is part of what we have become. We honour them best when we live as they would wish, responsibly and happily, even in the shadow of our loss, and so draw closer to the source of life, in whom every life finds meaning, purpose and hope. As we say together the words of Kaddish on page 524. Yitgadal v'yishkadash shmei Rabbah, v'alma tivarach chilotei v'yamlich malchutei, v'chayechon v'yomechon, v'chayei v'chol beit Yisrael, v'gadal v'zman karif v'yimru hamoi, yehei shmei Rabbah v'orach v'yalam v'yamaya, yitvarach v'yishabach v'yitpa'ah v'yitpa'ah v'yitnaseh, Yishkata v'yitchalem v'yitral shmei kudisha b'richu,
Leila Minka Vichata Shirata, Tushkefata Venekemata, Damiran Vilama Hiruru Ame, Yehe Shalom Rabba Min Shemaya, V'chaim Aleinu Vel Kol Yisrael, Hiruru Ame. Osei Shalom Dimromav, Uyasei Shalom, Aleinu Vel Kol Yisrael, Vel Kol Bnei Adam, Hiruru Amen.
Please do be seated. We're going to conclude today with Vashana Habaha, and that's on page
654.
654.
I presume that it has been done this short before, given there is a card for it. The evidence would suggest that people...
We were always going to do it the year after in the other round. It's a terrible joke.
Vashana Habaha, Neshevacha Min Kesed V'Mitzvot, Tziporim Noledot, Yeladim B'Kusham, Yisavakut Ol Chesed Lehavai, Yifremer Mazalot, Ol Tirei Kama Tov Yeh, Vashana Habaha, Ol Tirei Kama Tov Yeh, Vashana Habaha. Anavim Adumim, Yishmalu Ha'erev V'yukshu, Zolenim L'shofar, V'ruchot V'dumim, Yisru Alev Ha'terek Yitolim, Yeshanim Ba'alan, Otirei Kama Tov Yeh, Vashana Habaha, Otirei Kama Tov Yeh, Vashana Habaha, Mitzvos Kafot Yadayim Mul Ha'od, Haniga Alavar, Alafar Evana, Tifchos Ba'ok Naflayim B'Hashesh, Tizrak B'Tofar, Otirei Kama Tov Yeh, Vashana Habaha, Otirei Kama Tov Yeh, Vashana Habaha.
Please rise. I've just remembered that Rabbi Bernard Hooker is being remembered all through the month of Adar at the college, as we do for all former rabbis and alumni of the college. Of course, he once occupied this very space, which is why the reading desk is a little low for me. And this will be my last visit here for a while, but it's been very, very nice to be back with you for 3 in a row, more or less. It's been great to be back. Thank you very much. So if you'll allow priestly benediction at the bottom of page 530. Our God and God of our ancestors, bless us with the threefold benediction of the Torah. Yevarechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha, Ya'er Adonai panav elecha v'chuneka, Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom. May God bless you and keep you. May God look kindly upon you and be gracious to you. May God reach out to you in tenderness and give you peace. Shabbat shalom.
Before we go down for Kiddush, I'm sure you would want to join with me in thanking our very own, very dear Rabbi service that you two years already looking forward immensely to your next visit.
Thank you very much.
And also thanks to our musical director for enriching our service. Thank you very much.
I'm probably going to get down sharpish.
5:25?
No. I thought I heard rubber.
Yeah, well, I need to get back to those, so yeah.
You will be back.
What?
You will be back.
I'm always here.
That's what I mean. That's what, you know.
I'm not really
We're not used to fun. You know,
must ration it.
And no politics as well, which is better for me.
Yeah,
not for a long time.
For a while. Do it again.
It's a shame Lindsay wasn't here because she loves that work.
All right, we'll do it again.
Good.
Practice for everything is
lovely. It's a little bit atypical in the sense that it's me and my own section do whatever I like. When there's a thing, I just sort of very it's a bit more limiting because they get to things that they can do before. A lot of people say, I'll be able to do it. So, like, if you want to like, have a phone call, like, just to kind of talk through what you want to do.
Yeah, let's do that, and you know, because it sounds like you.
Anna, come down for British as well, because you might have you at the front with us if you fancy.
Let's do that. Yeah, we should talk, and then because I'm happy to go with what you've been doing.
Yeah, I'm just up here with Esther. You probably haven't got my number.
I haven't. I was going to Facebook message you.
Well, you can also do that.
No, let me take. I'm going to go down for Kiddish.
Okay, fine. I'll get up here.
Okay. So, this goes apparently with Psalm 96.
What does?
She's just written the beginning of that.
Yeah, I know this tune. It's.
Do you know?
So yeah, that Shema Yisrael Adonai Echad.
Oh no! Oh, sorry, no. This one.
Yeah. So this is Carla back. You can use it for the whole of the psalm.
No, I'm not going to because it's not in. This is the booklet that I use for the contemplative service. I was downstairs last Friday because it was Red Nose Day, and of course, you know, they do far more people.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to do this as a nigun that I would like at the beginning. That's the one. Now the question is, do you have the music for that I could give to Mary? Because I don't know it well enough.
Probably. It's very, very simple. I mean, you could even record it, but yes, probably. Yes, I'm sure somewhere.
Would it be possible to do this coming week?
Yeah, I mean, if I've got it on file already, which I think I probably do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do. Somewhere.
Definitely.
I mean, it'll just be a melody line, but I'm sure she'll come across and harmony.
Yeah, we're just going to do it as a nigun in the beginning.
I mean, with that kind of thing, I actually haven't met Mary on the phone, but I would have thought you could start it and she would probably.
I don't know it well enough to do that. That's my problem.
So, okay, so my golden thing is, and what I can put it for you now is, I think that's important that you should.
Right.
Like, if you're leading the service, you need to know it fairly well. But you can put it on your phone now and just listen to it a few times.
No, she's going to play it at the right at the beginning before we start.
Right.
So
are you expecting people to sing it?
If they want to.
Right. Okay.
If they want to.
Okay.
You know what it's like when it's something new, people are a bit diffident. But for me, what's important is that Mary can't do anything without the notation.
I think it's important that you learn it as well.
I have a real cracked voice,
Oh,
I'm not
sure,
saying
that's
that.
not
No,
true.
I'm not saying that to be modest.
Yeah.
I really have a
Okay.
and something's happened to my voice,
Oh.
and it seems to have got lower and
Okay.
lower.
Okay.
So I've got to be.
You just choose, just start in a comfortable place. Which is also important if you're working with Mary to work out. Anyway, okay, all right, I'll send you music for that.
That would be wonderful.
Fine, okay.
Great. Next, what's this? Baruch.
Two.
That's the one.
Yeah. So you want me to try and find music for that as well?
Yep.
Probably can find it in a published collection somewhere.
And the third one is the Shema.
I've got that. Adonai Echad.
I know that reasonably well.
Yeah.
But I still.
No, that kind of key. Shema Israel. What key's comfortable for you?
I'm almost the bass.
Let's find it. Here? Shema Israel Adonai Elohim.
I can't. Something's happened to my voice the last 2 weeks. I can't.
You see if you can find a key you can sing it, and I'll find what it is.
Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad.
Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. That's fine, you just make a female tenor, which you get in choirs, you often get a music tenor.
Yeah.
That's fine.
I do need it because I only remembered it once you started.
Yes. All I would say is you just need to kind of. I can get music for Mary, but you need to kind of work. I don't know.
I can practice with her.
Because you might need to find her a key that works for her. You have to get her to transpose it, which she didn't probably do.
She's good at that.
She'll be able to do that.
She's
yes.
very good at that.
Yeah. Okay.
So that was the last thing.
I'm not sure that's one. Let's have a look. What is it? Must be Bucket Shot. I don't know. Do you know that one?
If you start.
Oh, I'm just playing it.
Right.
Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shabbat Shalom. This was written. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. I'm not familiar with that.
Right, that doesn't ring a bell with me.
I can give you something else, I'm sure.
Yeah. Fine.
What does it need to do? What's it for? Which bit of the service?
As I say, this is the reform one.
And this is the one you actually use.
This is the one I use.
Is it like for an end sort of thing?
What I'd like is up until at the end we do Erev Shel Shoshani,
Yeah.
which people just love.
Yeah.
Absolutely love. But as this is service number 2, and up till now I've used this one, which doesn't quite have the same gentleness. It goes Ashira, Azamira,